Hello and welcome to Anatomy and Physiology at Glen Oaks Community College. I'm Dr. Ren Hartung. For this video, we're going to talk about the title of my courses, Human Anatomy and Physiology. For my students, I like them to understand what this title means. That way they know what they're getting into, and it's a good place to basically start. Human, if you don't know what that is, you're in big trouble to begin with, and we all know what that is, right? If you're watching YouTube, you're probably human. So we don't have to explain that one, but anatomy. Anatomy is the study of structure. The study of anatomy and physiology, they're underneath science. They're basically part of biology. So science means the study of. So this is a science, and this is the science of anatomy, which means the study of structure. What kind of structures? Human body structures. Like in the heart, for example, the heart has a very muscular wall. That's an anatomical characteristic of the heart. The heart has chambers, and the heart has valves between the chambers, and it's connected to these blood vessels. All of that is anatomy. More simplistic and something that you could play with right in front of you, your hand. Your hand has a certain specific anatomy. It has skin wrapped around it. Under that skin is some adipose tissue maybe, but not back here. But a adipose tissue pad up here. And then you have bones, little bones in the fingers. In fact, it has 5 digits sticking out of it. That's part of the anatomy. You've got 4 of these fingers and then this thumb. There are joints that connect those bones that are inside of the digits. And the joints over here are different than the joint over here in the thumb. Underneath that, you could think about the muscles that are in the hand. You could think about the tendons and ligaments. And you could think about the muscles that help move the hand. They're down here. And I just talked about physiology. I was trying to just talk about anatomy. But anyway, all of those are anatomical structures of the hand. Bones, ligaments, muscles, tendons, all of that. All of that's anatomy. For physiology, physiology is the study of the function, pretty much of structures, because you have to have something there in order for it to function. So this is talking about functions. If we go back to my 2 examples, I talked about how the heart has a muscular wall, and I talked about how the heart has chambers on the inside, and then it has valves that connect the chambers, and it has blood vessels connecting to them. The muscular wall is capable of contraction. The valves allow blood to move in one direction, but not to move back in the other direction. The heart can pump over and over again. It can push over and over again through those valves. And then the arrangement of the valves, the particular anatomy of the valves, keeps the blood moving in one direction into the heart through various valves and then out of the heart through various other valves. And then that blood gets pumped into those blood vessels that I talked about. So that's the simplistic example of the physiology of the heart. The heart is a pump for blood. And its anatomy, that muscular wall, the valves and the chambers, allow the heart to do the physiology, to do its function. These 2 obviously are very related, which you're probably already noticing. But let's go to my other example, the hand. It has bones, it has skin on the outside, it has muscles and tendons and ligaments, and all of those structures allow the hand to do the things that the hand does, allow the hand to function. One of the hand's functions is to pick things up, right? So I can pick up an object, just something fun in my office. Because my hand has the tendons and ligaments, the bones, the muscles connected to it that it has, it's able to do not only these kind of gross movements of picking something up, but also very intricate movements of playing a piano and that kind of thing. So the other thing, at least for my students, to make sure you understand is what is the relationship between these 2 and why are we studying them together? Anatomy and physiology are important at the gross level, which is the level that I've been talking about, the level of things that you could actually observe with your naked eye. But anatomy and physiology is also important on the cellular level and on the molecular level. If I go back to talking about the heart and the heart's wall, the muscular heart wall, that muscle tissue is made up of these little cells that are connected to each other, and they are stimulated to contract, and that's how the whole wall contracts. If I go further down and talk about the anatomy, those heart muscle cells, those cardiac myocytes, they are connected to each other with a specific type of protein, which are called gap junctions. These are proteins, they're molecules that are in the cell membranes of the 2 cells, interconnecting the cells, and they have this channel going through the center All of this that I've talked about so far is anatomy. We got cells connected to each other by these little proteins embedded in the membrane called gap junctions with a hole through the middle. That hole through the middle, now we're getting into the physiology. In this molecule of those gap junctions, that hole, that channel that runs through the middle, allows ions to flow through like sodium. What this allows for in terms of the function is that when one heart muscle cell is stimulated to contract, the stimulus is that positive charge of the sodium ions. It can now travel through the gap junctions. The sodium can travel through the gap junctions and get inside of the next cell and cause it to contract at the same time, or just about the same time. So what that allows, what that setup, that anatomy, those connections between all of the cardiac myocytes or muscle cells inside of the ventricles of the heart, it allows them all to contract as one. And because of that, it makes the heart a more efficient pump. So anatomy and physiology are important at the gross level, the things you can see visibly, but they're also important at the molecular level, at the chemical level. In terms of understanding how to define this whole title of the class, at least for my students, I will even give you one simple short sentence that describes it. You ready? Human anatomy and physiology is the study of the structures and functions of the human body. That's basically the definition for human anatomy and physiology. But as I've already discussed, it's more complicated than that, and you'll see that throughout the year of anatomy and phys that you might be taking with me. My recommendation for you, you've watched this video now, you have some good idea of what anatomy and physiology is, you have some idea of how the two are related. Pause the video right now and don't look at your notes, but try and write down the definition for yourself. Write down the definition of anatomy and physiology. Do it right now. Like pause it right now and then do it. And then play again and I'll give you the correct answer. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer that I already gave earlier, which is what's the definition? Human anatomy and physiology is the study of the structures and functions of the human body. If you wrote that down or something really close to that that really describes anatomy being the study of structure and physiology being the study of function, you're on the right track. You might have to refine it better for yourself. And while you're still here, but I'll sign off after I ask this question, but write down just for yourself, what is the relationship between anatomy and physiology? How are these two related? Get that written down and check it with your own materials to see that you got it right, and then you're done studying. You already know what this stuff is, and you can move on to the next subject. Thank you once again for watching Anatomy and Physiology at Glen Oaks Community College. As always, if there's any questions at all, please leave a comment down below or send me an email or whatever. And thank you once again for watching.